Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 11. We are going to present about project assessment development. The member of Group 11 are me, Unzil Maughfiroh Firdausi, and Sabita Rahma Anugrahaning. The first part is about definition of project assessment. Before we know about the definition of project assessment, we are going to know about the definition of project. According to Ministry of National Education 2010, the project is a work plan with specific targets and a definite time of completion. So, the project assessment is an assessment of a task that must be completed within a certain period or time. The task is in the form of an investigation of something that includes planning, data collection, organization, processing, and presentation. This is according to Ministry of National Education 2010. So, project assessment can be used to determine understanding and knowledge in a particular field, the ability of students to apply this knowledge in certain investigations, and the ability of students to clearly inform certain subjects. The second part is about differences between project, performance, and product assessment. This is the table of differences between project, performance, and product assessment. The first indicator is assessability. For the project assessment, doing investigation. For the performance assessment, carry out the procedure of activity. And for the product assessment, produce certain products. The second indicators, assess object. For the project assessment, investigation report. For the performance assessment, skills of demonstrating something. And for the product assessment, art and technology products. And the third indicators, about time period. For the project assessment, relatively long. For the performance assessment, relatively short. And for the product assessment, relatively long. The fourth indicator is nature of assignment. For the project assessment, tend to group. For the performance assessment, tend to be individual. And for the product assessment, it tend to group. For the last indicators, judging technique. For the project assessment, report check. For the performance assessment, observation directly. And for the product assessment, is product quality inspection. Project assessment is different from performance and product assessment. These differences can be seen in several ways. Project assessment is used to assess investigation activities. Meanwhile, performance assessment is used to assess the ability of students to do something. According to Slavin 2006, states that performance assessment as assessment of students' ability to perform the assignment in real-life context. Therefore, it can be assessed through observation. Project assignments that are assessed require a relatively long time to complete, while performance requires a relatively short time. Project assessment is used to assess project assignments which are generally carried out in groups considering the heavy assignment load, while performance assessment is to assess the performance of students who tend to be more individual. Project assessment also differs from product assessment. Product assessment is used to assess the ability to make products, technology, and art. According to Kemendikbud 2016, it means that product assessment is more focused on the assessment in which there are objects that are produced. These objects include food, technological tools, and artworks. While in project assessment, the object of the assessment is the result of an investigation in the form of investigation report. In product assessment, the resulting object may have the same characteristic according to the teacher's interaction. In this case, the product assessment is much emphasized on the quality of the result, not on the manufacture process. Meanwhile, in project assessment, even though using the same object of investigation, different reports can be produced because the focus or research questions being investigated are different. The third part is function and objective of project assessment. Various kinds of evaluation models related to learning has been widely known by experts and has been implemented by teachers in school. Evaluation generally contains the functions and the following purpose. The first, selectively. The second, diagnostic. The third is placement. The fourth is measure of success. The first is assessment function selectively, which aims to select students who can be admit to a particular school, to select students who can advance to a certain grade or level. The third is to select the students who should receive the scholarship. The fourth is to select students who have the right to leave school. The second is assessment is diagnostic. This assessment serves to get to know the student's background, such as psychological, physical, and environmental. It's very important to find the causes of students' learning difficulties, because most students have difficulty in learning because there are several external factors that affect it in this, and this must be diagnosed by the teacher and the school. The can be used for provide guidance and counseling to overcome the difficulties they face. And the third is assessment serves as a placement. Usually, an assessment with this function is carried out when acceptance of new students or when a grade increase. In order to determine exactly which group a student should be in place, an assessment is used. A group of students who have interest, characteristics, ability levels, and assessment result, same group, will be in the same study group. So, the teacher easier to know the level of students' ability in class on average. The last is assessment serves as a measure of success. This assessment is intended to determine the progress rate or student learning outcomes. The figure obtained are listed as a report to parents for grade promotion and determination student graduation. In its function as a measure of success, evaluation is very important, useful for the first, measuring the competence or capability of students. Determine which goals have not been realized so that the action suitable repairs can be made. Next, deciding on the ranking of the students. Next is provide information to the teacher about whether the strategy is suitable or not. Teaching method is for use the teaching method so that the advantage and disadvantage of the strategy teaching can be determined. The last is planning procedures to improve lesson plans and determine whether additional learning research needs to be used. The next part is about advantage and disadvantage of usage of project assessment. The advantage of project assessment as identified by Haryati in 2007 are as follows. The first, project work is an internal part of the standardized learning process, pedagogical and meaningful for students. The next, provide opportunities for students to express the competencies that are fully mastered. The third, more efficient and produce the products such as reports. The last is produce a competency mastery value that can be accountable. According to Murphy, 2009, identified the disadvantage in project assessment. The first, it takes a lot of time for the teachers in the assessment process. Second, requires a lot of time in terms of supervision in order to ensure the implementation of tasks by students. The third, students may have the different difficulty level for the same project task. This is due to the unequal ability level. The last is there is no opportunity to repeat the same project task if it fails. This is considering the availability of time. The next part is project assignment characteristic. Each learning evaluation model must have criteria assessment so that the assessment that will be applied later is truly capable assessing and measuring students' ability, not only from one aspect, for example, from the cognitive aspect, but from several aspects. Besides, it requires a truly objective assessment. To find out whether the project assessment can already be considered a good quality, then at least it should be the 7 criteria are considered among others. The first is generability. It relates to the level of ability whether the project tasks carried out by students are adequate to be used in generalizing other tasks. This means that the more a project assignment can be compared with other assignments. The second, authenticity. It means the extent to which the tasks given are similar or have similarity to real-life practice faced by students on a daily basis. For example, in mathematics, how the statistic topic have the relationship with a survey. Another example, in biology learning is to investigate the effect of mushroom concentration and room temperature on the speed of tempeh formation. In biology learning materials, students understand that in the formation of tempeh, mushrooms are needed. In addition, room temperature also affects the growth of mold. However, students don't understand what the right ratio is between the number of mushrooms and soybeans. Students also don't know what room temperature is ideal for mold growth so as to accelerate the formation of tempeh. Through investigation as happened in the tempeh production process, students can implement their knowledge. So the next is multiple foci. Multiple foci means the ability of the text given to students to measure more than one desired ability. In example before, investigation of the 2 factors that influence the manufacture of tempeh is at least able to measure 2 aspects, namely knowledge and skill. Aspect of knowledge that can be measured, for example, understanding the concept of mushroom, which include types of mushrooms, the condition of life of mushrooms, and the comparison of the number of mushrooms and soybeans. In mathematics, for example, aspect of knowledge that can be measured, for example, about understanding of concept or formula that will be used, and aspect of skills that can be measured include the ability to formulate hypotheses, formulate problems, and draw the conclusion. The next is teachability. Teachability means that the tasks given by the teachers in project assessment are tasks that are relevant to the learning materials taught by the teacher. Teachers need to maintain the level of relevance of the assignments given to the students. This needs to be done in order to maintain the level of suitability and usability of the learning materials with the given project assignments and vice versa. Thus, the process of reinforcing mutual understanding of the learning material between the learning process and the project assignments being worked on can occur. According to Meiji 2014, state that the teachers need to see the suitable between project assignments and subjects by considering the stage of knowledge, understanding, and skill in learning. Teachability can be used by the teacher as a guide in determining the focus of project assignments. The teacher must continue to focus on project assignments according to the learning material. The next is fairness. Fairness means that the text given must uphold a sense of justice for all students. The project assignment given must be able to be done by all students. Investigative project assignments that require a long period of time in completion tend to be completed in the form of groups. In other words, project assignments are group assignments. Therefore, the determination of group members becomes very important to ensure that each group can complete the assignment. The determination of group members must be heterogeneous in academic qualifications so as to allow the transfer of knowledge and transfer of skill between fast learners and slow learners. The most important thing is information about the ability of students on average must be owned by the teacher. The assignment given should not be too difficult or too easy for students. Assignments that are too easy become less interesting and challenging, while assignments that are too difficult make students feel hopeless and unfinished. The next is feasibility. Feasibility means that the given project assignment can be carried out in terms of time, cost, place, and equipment. Project assignments have a very high level of complexity compared to other assignments, so that they have a significant effect on time, cost, place, and equipment aspects. An initial assessment of the possible implementation of project assignment should be carried out by the teacher. The last is scorability. Scorability means that the project task carried out can be scored and assessed accurately and reliable, so the valid assessment results are obtained. Therefore, the preparation of an assessment rubric is very important. The teacher must make an assessment rubric before the students start working on the project assignment. The preparation of the assessment rubric can be done by the teacher and student so that an agreement is obtained on the elements being assessed. If the assessment rubric is prepared by the teacher, then at least the guidelines are socialized to students. This step is very important and supports one of the principles of assessment, namely openness. Okay, the next part will be explained by Sabita.
Okay, thank you, Unzil. I will continue the explanation. Then about project assessment steps. Next. Okay, the project assessment step can be carried out in two stages. The initial step is more aimed at preparing students for a project assessment technique. The following are the initial steps that teacher can take in conducting project assessment. There are in initial step, there are 5 steps. There are first, determine the type of project assignment in a year. Then develop a schedule for each project if there is more than one project assignment. Scheduling can be done with students The schedule in question is a general schedule and is not a detailed implementation plan. Third, provide some examples of complete project reports to students. This serves to provide an overview of the form of the project report they will make. Then indicate the assessment criteria to be used. It makes sure students know what will be assessed. Then the last, try for students to do grading practice in order to find out good project assignment reports. Next. Then the next step is carried out at the time of project assignment until the project task assessment process. Further steps that can be taken are as follows. First, there is planning the assessment. Planning the assessment, it consists of determining the suitable of project assignment with the competencies required by the curriculum or KT, for example, related to scientific work with experiments or simply by searching for information through observation, interview, and their techniques. Then there is defining the level of management. It means that the topic is neither too broad nor too narrow and takes into account the level of project difficulty. Then in the in the in this step, there are designing project specification. It consists choose a topic. Student can be given the freedom to determine problem and mapping the coverage of material. Next, there is carry out recording activities independently by student. Last, assessing the project assignment reports. Next. Here, based on Ansori, in project assessment, there are at least 4 things to consider. Namely, management is the ability of students to choose topic, find information, and manage the time of data collection and report writing. Then there is relevance is the suitability of topics, data, resolved with KD or subject. Then authenticity means that project carried out by student must be the result of their own work by considering the contribution of educators and other parties in the form of guidance and support for projects that carry out by students. Then there is innovation. There are innovation and creativity, namely projects that carry out by students contain new current elements and something unique different from usual. Next. Next about project assessment rubric development. The development of assessment rubric is needed to assess student project assignment reports. The assessment rubric that can be used is to use a rating scale as exemplified in the assignment guide. Next. Here, the development of a project assessment rubric can be done in 2 ways, namely holistic and analytic. In the holistic assessment rubric, the scoring guideline is prepared based on the overall impression or a combination of all criteria. In the holistic rubric, a certain scale is used to assess the level of assessment. Then, the analytic assessment rubric for the assessment process is carried out on each of the specified indicators. The rubric of this model is able to carry out assessment in more details so that the advantage and disadvantage of each student can be more detailed. In the analytic rubric, the scale used can be the same or different for each indicators. Indicators that are difficult to get the high scale. Next. Here we have the example of the table of analytic form project assessment rubric. There are 3 columns and 5 rows. we can see there are number, aspects, and score. For for the first, there are planning or background with the score value with like in the screen. You can see in the screen there are correct equals 3 and inaccurate equals 2 and incorrect equals 1. Similar with in the below, there are implementation that consists data or information collection with the same score. That there are accurate equals 3, less accurate equals 2, and inaccurate equals 1. And there are completeness of data processing and analysis, and conclusion. And we have result reporting with it consists systematics with the score is are good equals 3, poor equals 2, and not good equals 1. And that is use of language or according to the rules equals 3, less according to the rules equals 2, and not according to the rules equals 1. And the last, we have appearance. With the score we get from attractive equals 3, less attractive equals 2, and unattractive equals 1. If the maximal score we get 27. Next. Here we have the table of holistic form project assessment rubric. We have aspect and criteria and score, and we have in the aspect we have 4 aspects. There are preparation, data collection, data processing, and written reports. In the criteria and score, we have in the preparation is contains the purpose, topic, reason, place of research, complete list of question, and we get score 3. And if the contains the purpose topic, reason, place of research, incomplete list of question, we get the score 2. And if contains objectives, topics, reason, research, incomplete list of question, we get the score is 1. And for all aspect, we have the criteria, and you can see in the screen like that. Maybe for example again, in the written reports, there are the criteria systematic of writing is correct, then content suggestion and use communicative language. We get the score is 3, and the systematic of writing is correct, content suggestion, but the language is less communication. We get 2, and writing is less systematic, does not content suggestion, and less communicative language. We get 1. Next. The next step is to determine the project value. To determine the project value, use the formula project value equals score that we obtain over maximal score times 100. Next. Okay, next about examples of project assessment. Next. In the example, we have 2 types. That is, there are checklist and rating scale. First, about the checklist type. We have the subject mathematics, class 7 grade, and basic competencies using algebraic concept in solving simple social arithmetic problems. And the indicators solve problem related to simple economic activities in shop or traditional market involving the concept of profit or loss, selling price, buying price. Next. Okay, here the example of checklist. we have rather expect there are good preparation, good implementation, good reporting, and we have the total score, and we can get the final score. For example, here we have Ani with the score of good preparation is 1. It means that she have the good preparation. Like in the below of table, you can see if score 0 is equal to no, and if the score is 1 equals yes, and the maximal score is 3 and minimal score is 0. That means that Ani have the good preparation, have the good implementation, but not have good reporting, and the total score is 2. Thus, final scores is equal to total score over maximal scores times 100. Then she got a score that is 66.6. Next. And here we have the example of writing scale type. The subject mathematics, of course. Then class or programs is 11 grades, and the program is IPA. Basic competencies: calculating the size of the concentration, the size of the location, and the size of the spread of data, as well as their interpretation. For the indicators, we have 3 indicators that are presenting data in the form of frequency distribution tables and histogram. Then determine the mean, media, and mode. Then determine the size of the layout. Next. The assessment type is project, of course. Then question or assignment. Do this assignment in group. We have the assignment. First, collect the data about the weight and height of student in kilogram or centimeter according to the division of the group. Group 1 is class 11 IPA 1, and group 2 class 11 IPA 2, and etc. Then second, make a frequency distribution table and histogram from the data. Third, calculate the mean, mode, media, lower quartile, and upper quartile. And fourth, make a written report about the activities carried out and present the result in front of the class. Next. Here in the scoring guidelines or rubric, we can see there are 3 stages. There are preparation, implementation, and reporting. For the description, preparation is topics or goals, materials or tools, work steps, time estimated data to be obtained, or observation or data collection format in accordance with the objective. We give the score with the rate 0 until 2. And for the implementation, for this description is accuracy in using tools or materials, record the data neatly, clearly, and completely, grouping and analyzing data. We give the score 0 until 4. And reporting, the description of reporting is the accuracy of the contents of the reports, such as formatting topics, formatting the goals, writing tools and materials, outlining activity steps, and we have the accuracy of the form of reports presentation, such as writing systematically, usage of communicative language, presentation of complete data, containing conclusion and citation. And we give the rate of the score is 0 until 4. And the total score is 0 until 10. Next. Here the example of a rating scale. There is number, group, and the stage. There are preparation, implementation, reporting, and there is total score. For example, we can see in the notes, there are the scoring for each activity is as follow. First, the preparation activity gets score 2. The description of the rubric is present or done, and score 1 doing same, and score 0 didn't do. So for the example in group 1, we have the example group 1 and group 2. In group 1, the preparation is 2. It means that group 1 is do the description of the rubric, or the description of the rubric is present or done. Then the implementation, for the implementation of group 1, we give the score is 3. It means that there were few errors or incomplete, like in the notes in number 2. Then for the reporting in of group 1, we give 2. It means that there are many errors or incomplete. And we can see the detail on the notes number 3. And for the and then we can get the total score of group 1 is 7. Next. Okay. I think enough from us. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.